CEO's office on the highest floor of Frankfurt's financial district. Cold neon lights reflecting off glass walls that stretch toward the German sky. On the mahogany desk, an old leather-bound diary sits forgotten among million-dollar contracts and quarterly reports. The young woman in an expensive suit holds it with trembling hands. Her voice breaks as she turns to me. Daniel, 41, single dad, building maintenance worker. Can you read this for me, please? As the first pages unfold, the entire room falls into silence, and this CEO's life changes forever. I'm Daniel Hartmann, 41 years old, single dad from Germany, former military rescue specialist, now working as a janitor and maintenance worker in Frankfurt's business district. 3 defining features: solid build from years of physical work, a long scar across my neck from a rescue mission gone wrong, and tired but warm eyes that have seen too much loss but refuse to become bitter. My 9-year-old daughter Clara is my sunshine. Energetic, curious, always chattering about school and her latest art projects. She often waits for me in the lobby after my night shifts, doing homework under the security desk lamp while I finish cleaning offices. We live in a small apartment in Frankfurt suburbs. Nothing fancy, 2 bedrooms, a narrow balcony, where Clara grows chrysanthemums in recycled yogurt containers. But it's home, filled with her drawings taped to every wall and the comfortable chaos of a father raising his daughter alone. Our evening ritual, no matter how late I get home, I read children's stories to Clara before bed. Sometimes I'm so tired the words blur together, but she doesn't care. She just wants the sound of her father's voice promising that tomorrow will come and we'll face it together. That particular night, I was cleaning the executive floor at around midnight when I discovered something unusual. The CEO's office light was still on, which never happened. These corporate types were long gone by 6 p.m., off to their expensive dinners and charity galas. But there she was, Eva Müller, 33 years old, Frankfurt's youngest female CEO, slumped over her desk, like the weight of the world had finally crushed her shoulders. In front of her lay an old leather diary, its brown cover worn smooth by countless hands. Her perfectly styled blonde hair was disheveled, her usually immaculate makeup streaked with tears. She looked up when I entered, and I saw something I'd never seen before in a corporate executive: vulnerability, raw, unguarded vulnerability. "I'm sorry," she whispered in German, then switched to English. "I didn't know anyone was here." "Just finishing the night cleaning, ma'am. I can come back." "No, please." She gestured to the diary with trembling fingers. Can you read this for me? I don't have the courage." The request was so unexpected, so intimate, that I almost refused. But something in her eyes, the same desperate look Clara had when she'd lost her first tooth and was afraid the tooth fairy wouldn't come, made me sit down across from her massive desk. The diary felt heavy in my hands, weighted with more than just paper and binding. I opened to the first page and began reading aloud. "For Eva, my beloved daughter, if someday you lose yourself in the maze of ambition and forget who you really are, read these words and find your way home." Eva's sharp intake of breath filled the silent office. The handwriting was elegant but shaky, as if written by someone fighting against time itself. "Your mother wrote this?" I asked gently. Eva nodded, unable to speak. As I continued reading, the story emerged. A poor woman's dream for her daughter's success, but not at any cost. A mother's wisdom about staying human in an inhuman world. Love letters from beyond the grave. Symbolic object number 1. The leather diary sitting incongruously among the glass and steel corporate world, representing everything authentic that Eva had lost along her climb to power. Authentic detail for Act 1, my crumpled S-Bahn ticket showing 2.80 tucked in my work shirt pocket, damp with nervous sweat. The contrast was stark. My public transportation receipt next to Eva's world of private jets and luxury cars. 2 different universes colliding in this sterile office space. As I read the final words of that first entry, Eva broke down completely. "I've forgotten everything she taught me," she sobbed. "I've become everything she was afraid I'd become. The foundation was set. The diary had opened a door that corporate success had sealed shut, and somehow, a maintenance worker was about to help a CEO remember what it meant to be human. I spent the next hour reading passages from the diary while Eva listened with the intensity of someone hearing gospel for the first time. Her mother's words painted pictures of a childhood I recognized, struggling to pay bills, making soup stretch across 3 meals, finding joy in simple things that didn't cost money. "Your mother grew up poor," I observed, closing the diary gently. "Desperately poor," Eva confirmed, wiping tears with the back of her hand. "She cleaned offices like you do, worked 3 jobs to put herself through business school. She built this company from nothing, wanted me to have everything she never had. But listen to what she wrote about success." I reopened the diary to a page I'd marked with my thumb. "Success without soul is just expensive emptiness. Don't let them turn you into a beautiful statue with a frozen heart." Eva laughed bitterly. "Too late. I haven't felt anything real in years. I fire people via email. I make decisions that affect thousands of families without thinking about their faces. I used to dream of opening a small coffee shop, just me, good coffee, real conversations with regular customers. What happened to that dream? It wasn't ambitious enough for a business school valedictorian, not impressive enough for board meetings and investor presentations." I shared my own story as we sat in that cold office surrounded by the trappings of corporate power. "I lost my wife to cancer 4 years ago. Sarah was a teacher, loved children, believed education could change the world." "I'm sorry," Eva said softly. "After she died, I was offered a promotion in my military unit. Good pay, prestige, respect. But it would have meant leaving Clara with my mother, seeing her only on weekends. So I walked away, became a maintenance worker so I could be home every night to read her bedtime stories." Eva stared at me like I'd spoken in a foreign language. "You gave up your career for bedtime stories?" "I gave up a job for my daughter. There's a difference." The next evening, instead of heading home immediately after my shift, I found Eva still in her office, the diary open on her desk like a map to a country she'd forgotten how to find. Would you like to see where Clara and I live?" she asked hesitantly. "I know it's presumptuous, but I haven't been in a real home in so long." An hour later, Eva stood in our tiny apartment, looking around with the wonder of an archaeologist discovering a lost civilization. Clara bounded out of her bedroom in pajamas covered with dancing penguins. "Papa, who's the pretty lady?" "This is Eva," I said carefully. "She's having a difficult time, and I thought maybe we could share dinner with her." Clara studied Eva with the direct assessment only children possess. "Why are you sad?" Clara asked, taking Eva's manicured hand in her small paint-stained fingers. I lost my way," Eva admitted. "I forgot how to be happy." "That's okay," Clara said with 9-year-old wisdom. "Papa says being lost is the first step to finding something better." Our dinner was simple: vegetable soup, crusty bread, and tea served in mismatched cups. But Eva ate like she was tasting food for the first time in years. "This is delicious," she said with genuine surprise. "Papa makes the best soup in Germany," Clara announced proudly. After dinner, Clara showed Eva her chrysanthemum garden on the balcony. The flowers were just beginning to bloom, tiny bursts of yellow and orange against the gray Frankfurt skyline. "I planted them from seeds," Clara explained. "Papa says good things take time to grow, but they're worth waiting for." Eva knelt beside the flower containers, touching the delicate petals with reverence. "They're beautiful, Clara. Really beautiful." "You can have some when they get bigger," Clara offered generously. "For your office, so you remember that pretty things can grow anywhere." As Clara got ready for bed, she insisted that Eva help with the bedtime story routine. "You read the princess parts," Clara instructed, handing Eva a worn copy of fairy tales. "Papa does the dragon voices." For 30 minutes, we created magic in Clara's small bedroom. Eva's corporate composure melted as she gave voice to brave princesses and wise queens, while I growled out dragon dialogue that made Clara giggle uncontrollably. Again, Clara demanded when we finished. It's past bedtime, little one, I said gently. Clara hugged Eva goodnight with the unself-conscious affection of childhood. Will you come back tomorrow? Clara asked. The flowers grow better when nice people visit them. After Clara was asleep, Eva and I sat on our small balcony with cups of chamomile tea Clara had insisted we make the proper way. I haven't laughed in months, Eva admitted. I'd forgotten what it felt like. Clara has that effect on people. It's not just Clara, it's this. She gestured around our modest space. Real life, authentic connection, people who care about each other instead of profit margins. The diary sat on our kitchen table, its leather cover catching moonlight from the open balcony door. My mother wrote about this, Eva said quietly, about choosing love over success, connection over achievement. She was terrified I'd become exactly what I became, powerful but empty. Authentic detail for Act 2, a grocery receipt from Aldi showing Milch 1 and 19 year still stuck to our kitchen table with a magnet, which Eva touched with gentle curiosity, fascinated by the simple reality of our budget-conscious life. As Eva prepared to leave for her luxury apartment across the city, Clara appeared in the doorway in her penguin pajamas. Tante Eva, she said, using the German term for aunt, can I give you something? She handed Eva a single chrysanthemum she'd carefully picked from her garden. For your office, Clara said, so you don't forget us. Eva held the small flower like it was made of gold and tears. The bridge between our worlds had been built. But the real test was coming, because corporate boards don't appreciate CEOs who discover their humanity. The board of directors noticed Eva's change immediately. She's distracted, whispered board member Heinrich Weber during their weekly executive meeting, unfocused, making emotional decisions instead of profitable ones. Yesterday, she refused to approve the factory closure in Dortmund, added another member, said she was thinking about the families involved. Since when do we think about families? The confrontation came 2 weeks after Eva had started visiting Clara and me regularly. I was cleaning the conference room late one evening when I heard raised voices from the CEO's office. Through the glass walls, I could see Eva surrounded by men in expensive suits, all talking at once, their faces red with corporate fury. Eva clutched her mother's diary like a shield. I couldn't hear every word, but the tone was unmistakable. Ultimatum. Choose. Now. Then I heard a voice I recognized. Gustav Richter, Eva's adoptive father and the company's former chairman, the man who'd raised her after her mother died. Your mother was weak, his voice carried through the office walls. Sentimental. She filled your head with romantic nonsense about caring for people. Look where it got her, dead at 45 from stress and overwork because she couldn't make the hard decisions. Eva's response was a cry of pure pain. Don't you dare dishonor her memory. She loved people more than profit, and it killed her. I couldn't stand outside listening anymore. I walked into that conference room filled with men who controlled billions of dollars and thousands of jobs. She wasn't weak, I said clearly, my voice carrying the authority I'd learned commanding rescue operations. She was the strongest person Eva ever knew. Gustav turned his cold gaze on me. Who the hell are you? Someone who knows the difference between strength and hardness, between success and hollowness. You're the maintenance worker, Heinrich sneered. The one who's been filling Eva's head with working-class fantasies. I haven't filled her head with anything. I just reminded her that she has a heart. Gustav's face flushed with fury. This is a corporate boardroom, not a social services office. We don't make decisions based on feelings. Maybe that's the problem. Eva, enough of this circus, Gustav commanded. Sign the restructuring agreement. Close the unprofitable divisions. Fire the redundant workers. Be a CEO, not a charity worker. Eva stood behind her desk, the diary pressed against her chest like armor. I won't betray everything my mother believed in. Your mother was a naive woman who died poor despite building a successful company because she couldn't separate business from emotion. She died knowing she'd helped people. She died with her soul intact. That's when board member Friedrich Lange made his mistake. He reached across Eva's desk to grab the diary. Enough of this sentimental garbage. If you can't make rational decisions, we'll make them for you. I move faster than I had since my military days. Hands off the diary. The corporate executive found himself face down on the polished conference table, his expensive suit wrinkled and his dignity bruised. The room fell absolutely silent. That diary, I said calmly, helping Lang to his feet, contains the last words of a woman who loved her daughter more than money. If you have a problem with that, you have a problem with me. Gustav stared at me with undisguised hatred. You're just a janitor, a nobody who thinks he understands high-stakes business. I understand what matters. Do you? Eva stepped forward, her voice stronger than I'd ever heard it. Daniel isn't nobody. He's the person who reminded me who I am. Who I was before I became what you wanted me to become. She opened the diary to a page she'd marked with Clara's dried chrysanthemum. My mother wrote, "Success built on other people's suffering isn't success at all. It's just expensive cruelty. I will not close factories. I will not fire loyal workers. I will not sacrifice other people's families for profit margins." Gustav's voice turned deadly quiet. Then you will resign. The board votes tonight. Either you sign these agreements or you're removed as CEO. Eva looked around the room at the men who'd shaped her corporate career. Then she looked at me, standing there in my maintenance uniform, holding a diary that represented everything they despised. I choose my mother's path. She picked up the restructuring agreement and tore it in half. I choose humanity over profit. I choose conscience over convenience. I choose love. The room erupted in angry voices, but Eva remained calm. From her pocket, she pulled out the chrysanthemum Clara had given her, now dried and preserved between the diary's pages. This flower represents more value than all your stock options combined, because it represents someone who cares about me as a person, not as a profit generator. Gustav's final words were poisonous. You'll regret this decision when you're poor and forgotten, when your idealistic bubble bursts and reality crushes your romantic fantasies. The board meets tomorrow morning. Your resignation letter will be on this desk, or security will escort you out. As the executives filed out of the conference room, Eva collapsed into her chair, trembling with exhaustion and liberation. What have I done? She whispered. You chose your mother's values over their money. But I have no skills outside of corporate management, no other career, no safety net. I sat beside her in the empty conference room, surrounded by the aftermath of her corporate rebellion. You have something more valuable than money or career security. What? You have yourself back. The real Eva that your mother raised. The woman who dreamed of opening a coffee shop and making people smile. That's terrifying. Most worthwhile things are. The diary lay open on the conference table, its pages filled with a mother's love and wisdom. Tomorrow, Eva would face the consequences of choosing heart over profit, authenticity over approval, love over luxury. But tonight, in the wreckage of her corporate career, she was more herself than she'd been in years. The chrysanthemum bookmark caught the office light, a small symbol of growth, beauty, and the courage to bloom even in difficult soil. Some choices change everything. Some battles are worth fighting even when winning means losing everything you thought you wanted. Eva had made her choice. Now we would discover what came next. Eva's resignation from Müller Industries made headlines across Germany's financial press. Corporate heiress abandons empire over emotional breakdown. Business analysts called it career suicide. Eva called it resurrection. Within a week, she'd cleaned out her corner office and handed over the keys to the corporate empire her mother had built. And she had expanded into a billion-euro enterprise. But instead of despair, I saw something I'd never seen in Eva before: peace. I woke up this morning without my phone buzzing with crisis calls, she told Claire and me over breakfast in our small kitchen. For the first time in years, I slept through the night. What will you do now? Clara asked with 9-year-old directness. Eva smiled, really smiled, for what seemed like the first time since I'd known her. I'm going to open that coffee shop I dreamed about when I was your age. 3 months later, Eva had found the perfect location, a small storefront near Frankfurt Central Square, sandwiched between a bookstore and a flower shop. The rent was affordable, the space was cozy, and it had large windows that would let in morning sunlight. Clara and I spent weekends helping Eva transform the empty space into Diary Cafe, named after the leather journal that had changed her life. We painted walls a warm cream color. Eva learned to use power tools, getting paint in her hair, and discovering calluses on her previously manicured hands. Clara contributed artistic touches, hand-drawn menus, and colorful signs that made the space feel alive and welcoming. This is harder than running board meetings, Eva admitted, struggling to assemble tables that came with incomprehensible instruction manuals. But more fun, Clara pointed out, her signature wisdom making Eva laugh. The transformation wasn't just in the cafe space. Eva herself was changing, becoming more real with each passing day. She learned to make coffee from beans instead of pressing buttons on expensive machines. She discovered the satisfaction of serving food she'd prepared herself. She found joy in conversations with customers who saw her as Eva, the coffee shop owner, not Eva, the corporate executive. Regular customers began to include elderly neighbors who came for afternoon coffee and conversation, university students who studied at her small tables, young parents who brought children for hot chocolate and homemade cookies. Eva kept her mother's diary displayed behind the counter, open to different pages each day. Customers often asked about it, and Eva would share her mother's wisdom about kindness, community, and remembering what truly mattered. "Your mother sounds like she was an amazing woman," said Frau Weber, one of our regular customers. "She was, and it took me too long to understand what she was trying to teach me." One afternoon, while Clara was helping Eva arrange fresh chrysanthemums in vases throughout the cafe, she made an announcement that surprised us both. "Tante Eva, you should live with us." "Clara, sweetheart," I started to intervene. "No, Papa, listen. Tante Eva comes to our apartment every day after she closes the cafe. She helps with my homework. She reads bedtime stories. She's already family." Eva knelt down to Clara's eye level, tears threatening to spill. "But I don't want to impose on you and your father. You have your own life, your own routines." Clara looked at me with pleading eyes. "Papa, tell her she belongs with us." The truth was, Eva had become essential to our daily rhythm. Our apartment felt empty on the rare evenings when she didn't join us for dinner. Clara talked about Tante Eva constantly at school. And I had fallen in love with the woman Eva was becoming when she wasn't performing corporate success. "Clara's right," I said quietly. "We're stronger together than apart." "Are you sure?" Eva asked, searching my eyes for any hesitation. "I'm sure that Clara lights up when you're around. I'm sure that you found yourself again in our simple life. I'm sure that whatever this is we've built together, it's worth protecting." The cafe became our extended family's headquarters. Clara would do homework at a corner table after school while Eva and I worked together. She handled customers and coffee preparation. I managed maintenance and repairs. Evenings we'd walk home together through Frankfurt streets, stopping at markets to buy ingredients for dinner, talking about Clara's school projects and cafe customer stories and plans for the future. The media attention eventually died down, replaced by newer scandals and fresher corporate drama. But occasionally, business reporters would visit the cafe, looking for angles on the fallen CEO who chose poverty over power narrative. Eva learned to handle their questions with grace and honesty. "Do you regret giving up your corporate position?" "I regret waiting so long to remember who I really was." "Was it worth sacrificing billions of dollars?" "I didn't sacrifice anything valuable. I found everything that mattered." One evening, 6 months after Eva had opened Diary Cafe, she made an announcement that changed everything again. "I want to ask you both something important," she said, as we cleaned tables together after closing time. Clara looked up from wiping down chairs, and I paused in stacking cups. "Daniel, Clara, would you consider making this official? Not just the cafe partnership, but us as a family." Clara dropped her cleaning cloth and ran to Eva, wrapping her small arms around the woman who had become her chosen mother. "Yes, yes, yes," Clara shouted. "I told Papa you belonged with us." I looked at Eva, flour in her hair, coffee stains on her apron, exhausted but genuinely happy, and saw the woman her mother had raised her to be. "Welcome home," I said simply. The leather diary sat on the cafe counter, open to a page that read, "True success is being surrounded by people who love you for who you are, not what you achieve." Eva had finally found her way back to her mother's wisdom, and in doing so, she'd found us. 1 year after Eva had torn up that restructuring agreement and walked away from corporate life, Clara created something that took our breath away. A detailed drawing showing the three of us sitting together in Diary Cafe, surrounded by chrysanthemums and coffee cups. On the table between us lay the leather diary, and above our heads Clara had written, "Mein Family," in careful 9-year-old handwriting. She presented it on a quiet Sunday morning when we were having breakfast before opening the cafe. "This is us being happy," Clara announced with ceremonial importance. "Tante Eva, Papa, and me, forever and always." Eva stared at the artwork, tears streaming down her face. "Clara, sweetheart, are you absolutely sure this is what you want, even if it means Tante Eva can never be rich and important again?" Clara looked at her with the exasperated expression children reserve for adult stupidity. "Tante Eva, money can't buy hugs," she said with devastating simplicity. "And you give the best hugs in Frankfurt. Besides," Clara added, "you're already important. You make the best coffee, you help me with math homework, and you read Princess Voices perfectly." That evening, after we'd closed the cafe and Clara was asleep, Eva and I sat in our small apartment kitchen, the same space where she'd first learned to make simple soup and discovered the joy of ordinary family dinners. "I need to tell you something," Eva said quietly. My heart started racing, afraid she was having second thoughts about our unconventional life. "Gustav contacted me yesterday. The company's struggling without steady leadership. The board wants to offer me a path back, smaller role, but still executive level, still lucrative." I felt my stomach drop. "And?" I told him I already have a job. I'm a coffee shop owner and a chosen mother to the best little girl in Germany. And hopefully, if you'll have me, a partner to the best man I've ever known. She reached across our small kitchen table and took my hands that now bore matching calluses from honest work. "Daniel, this past year learning to live authentically, discovering who I am when I'm not performing for board approval, watching Clara grow up, knowing she's loved unconditionally. I've never been happier, never been more myself. Are you asking what I think you're asking?" Eva smiled through tears. "I'm asking if a former CEO turned coffee shop owner can marry a maintenance worker turned cafe partner. I'm asking if we can make this official, not just for Clara, but for us." The next morning, we told Clara our news over pancakes that Eva had finally learned to make without burning. Clara's reaction was pure joy. "Does this mean I can call you Mama Eva now?" "If you want to," Eva replied, her voice thick with emotion. I want to." Clara jumped up and hugged us both simultaneously. "Can we have the wedding in the cafe? Can all our customers come? Can we serve coffee and cookies instead of fancy food?" "We can have whatever kind of wedding makes our family happy," I said, "just like we've built whatever kind of life makes us happy." 6 months later, we were married in Diary Cafe on a Sunday afternoon when it was normally closed. Clara served as flower girl, maid of honor, and wedding planner all in one. The guest list included our regular customers, my former co-workers from the maintenance crew, Clara's teacher, and the elderly couple who ran the flower shop next door. Gustav Richter did not attend, but Eva's mother was present in every detail. The diary open on the coffee counter, chrysanthemums from Clara's garden decorating every table, and the vows Eva had written based on her mother's wisdom about choosing love over luxury, as sunset painted Frankfurt's sky in brilliant colors. Three people who had found each other against all conventional wisdom settled into their evening routines as an officially recognized family. Clara practiced violin while Eva and I cleaned cafe dishes together, bumping hips and stealing kisses like newlyweds in our small kitchen that had become the heart of our home. The leather diary sat on our bookshelf now, open to the final entry Eva's mother had written. The greatest success is a life filled with people who choose to stay when staying gets difficult. Outside our window, the chrysanthemums Claire had planted in the cafe's window boxes bloomed bright and beautiful, turning their faces toward the last light of day. Tomorrow would bring new customers, new challenges, new opportunities to choose each other over easier alternatives. But tonight, in a small apartment above a coffee shop surrounded by the aroma of coffee beans and the sound of imperfect violin music, we were exactly where we belonged. Complete, connected, home. True wealth isn't found in corner offices, but in kitchen tables where people choose to stay and love you as you are. Call to action. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to HA Stories and share what coming home to yourself means to you. Subscribe. If you found yourself here, subscribe HA Stories.